education in the university in Taiwan. But just for your information, Professor Huang is currently the National Chair Professor of Ministry of Education in Taiwan and University Chair Professor and Dean of the Institute for Advanced Studies in Humanities and Social Sciences and Director of the Program of East Asian Confucianism in Taiwan, in National Taiwan University. And he is also a research fellow of the Institute of Chinese Literature and Philosophy in Academia Sinica in Taiwan. And his topic today will be the tradition and transformation in Eastern Asian education in searching for a new paradigm. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor Huang Chun Chieh.
Thank you very much, President Yang, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. First of all, I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Taipei National University of the Arts and Audience, whose invitation enables me to stand here today to share with you some of my preliminary thoughts on tradition and transformation in East Asian education. It is my hope that after this deliberate consideration on our own East Asian educational heritage, we may be in a better position to search for a new paradigm in the 21st century. Thank you very much. All right, next slide. Next one. All right, my presentation, next one. Yeah, 下一张. Yeah, my presentation should start from three major problematiques. The first one is what are the salient features of education in traditional East Asia? Secondly, what transformation has East Asian education undergone in the past century? Third, and finally, how is education in the 21st century East Asia best envisioned? Let's start from question number one, 下一张, pertaining to the salient feature of education in traditional China. Everybody in this room certainly know that the educational tradition in Asian regions start from Confucius. It was a moving and powerful announcement when Confucius declared that his doctrine of education is education without discrimination. Let me call upon Confucius to join our presentation. 下一张.
"有教无类"是有教无类，夫子，这样办学可是从来没有，正是因为从未有过，我才要这样做。你们都看到求学之人离去时有多么失望，这是我的过错，因为我没有想到求学者会如此之多。再者，我过多的顾虑贵贱。人的地位确实有贵有贱，可是人的学问才能不可单凭地位来分高低。
All right,
无论是只要经不起。
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Confucius. Yeah, at the conversation Confucius engaged with his disciples is like this. All the students are astonished, shocked by Confucius' announcement of education without discrimination of whatever race, nationality. And, in Confucius' days, there are 13 major feudal states in China, right? And not to mention their class and so on and so forth. And Confucius explained that education aims at cultivating one's inner self, which is transcendent to the formalistic discriminations, be it the race, class, nationality, and so on. Yeah, this is truly wonderful and epoch-making. And in next 下一章 in historical perspectives, two major currents of development in traditional Chinese education can easily be observed. The first one is the official academies as established and promoted, financed by the Chinese empires. In the, all of you know that the minus the major starting year throughout Chinese history is the year 221, when the first emperor Qin Shi Huangdi unified China for the first time in Chinese history. It's bemoaned by the Tang Dynasty poet Du Mu. Six warring states says the complete unification of great lands and seas, great forest on Mount Su. They used it only to erect archon heads. Yes, since the establishment of the first empire, Chinese empires subscribed to egoism as a political strategy, although they claimed to be a Confucian emperor on the surface. From the Qin dynasty onward, officials played the role of teachers. All right, next one. 下一章. Yeah. It is in the Western Han dynasties when Confucianism was designated as imperial orthodox. So from Western Han, Confucian scholar officials played double roles. On the one hand, in terms of their moral self, all these Confucian scholar officials are believers of Confucian values, predominantly the benevolence and righteousness and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, in terms of their political self, they are all executors of the imperial power. 下一章. And in the same time, the Chinese emperors also played a double role. They are power holders, of course, but on the other hand, they claimed to be the cultural patrons. About 20 years ago, I had a book published in America dealing with imperial rulership and cultural change in traditional China. All right, this is the track number one. Yet, what is more important is the second track, that is the private academies and private education. The private academies were founded and financed by the civil societies, especially after the Northern Song, that is the 10th century. The private academy in traditional China were very much developed. Historians report that there are 4 famous academies in the 10th century China. The Yuelu Academy, the White Deer Brutal Academy, next one, 下一章. Yeah, Chongyang Academy, Intian Academy, right? And yeah, and among all this, among these private academies, the most important one is Ziyang Academy, with the great 12th century Neo-Confucian master Zhu Xi as the master of that academy. That's take a look at the films.
实现了多年的夙愿。他在武夷山阴屏风下建成了一座简朴而颇具规模的学府——阳书院。书院的建成堪称当时中国文坛的一件盛事。在落成仪式上，58岁的朱老夫子以诗会友，心花怒放。武夷是一座历史悠久的文化名山，一代大儒讲学山中，八方学者纷至沓来，200多位学者汇聚到武夷山间，紫阳书院里群贤毕至，少长咸集，集一时人物之盛。武夷山由此而成为当时中国东南的理学第一重镇，人称道南。
Alright, let me explain somewhat of what the film says. The great master Zhu Xi, whose state is comparable to Peter Abelard, the medieval European Aristotelian logician. Zhu Xi established his academy at the age of 58, and on top of the Wuyi mountain, located in present-day Fujian province. And it is in this academy that Zhu Xi enjoyed and engaged in creative philosophical dialogue with his pupils. And this makes his academy as the major so-called reservoir of the Song Dynasty, Neo-Confucianism. Yes, next one. And not only in China proper, the private academy with Chinese characteristics also exercised influence in the neighboring countries in East Asia, predominantly Korean Peninsula. In the 14th century, the Korean great Confucian master Yi established Tosan Academy, and this is the rebuilt of his academy in 1970s when the economy of South Korea was in its zenith, was prosperous. Korean friends are pretty much cultural nationalistic. 2 years ago, in celebrating the 18th century Korean great master Chung Ya-yong, Chung Hassan's 250th birthday, in Seoul, there was a huge international conference, and I had the honor of being invited to deliver a keynote speech on that occasion. It was there, and I sensed, bodily experienced the cultural nationalistic sentiment in South Korea. Yi, yes, and his academy is the most famous one, yes. Next, yes. In the private academy, education is regarded in terms of education. The pedagogical approach subscribed by the private academy masters was emic rather than ethic. All right, next one. Education focused particularly on the core values of Confucianism. Let us take the Korean case, the Korean master Chung Ya-yong Chung Da-san as an example. Yes, yeah, all right.
공자가 효에 대해 이야기한 내용을 기록한 효입니다. 공자는 효를 모든 덕행의 근본으로 보았다. 또한 부모를 사랑하는 마음이 있다면 남을 좀처럼 미워하지 않게 된다고 이야기했다. 만물을 사랑하는 인의 마음이 자신을 낳아준 부모를 사랑하는 효로부터 흘러나온다고 생각한 것이다.
It stems very naturally outward. It's the virtue on which other cardinal virtues are built. That is, if you are filial, if you are obedient, if you show respect, if you love your parents, then you know obedience, you know respect, and you know love toward others outside the family.
공자는 인간의 자연스러운 감정으로서 효를 중요시했죠.
到这里就好。
국가에 대한 맹목적인 충성을 이야기하지는
Alright, for the sake of time, let me briefly translate what the friends tell us. Taking Zhou Yayong and his Korean scholar official colleagues as examples, the private education focused upon such core values of Confucian as filial piety, benevolence, or humanities, loyalty, and so on and so forth. You know, in the days of Confucius, the very term loyalty means to be sincere in dealing with other people, rather than loyalty to the throne, to the emperor. Yeah, this is the later development. I mean, this meaning is the later development after the Qin Empire. All right, education. Next one. 下一章. To sum up what I just said, education in pre-modern East Asia all aimed at moral cultivation through the enlightenment of one's inner world. The texts to be used in the private academy were Confucian classics. And the pedagogical method was pretty much similar to Aristotelian pedagogical approach, namely dialogical rather than a monologue, right? And it is emic rather than attic. Yeah, all right. And the final aim, the ultimate aim of education, be it the official ones, the official academies, or the private ones, all aimed to raise the pupils to become a gentleman, or what the Japanese put it, gunshi. What does gentleman really means? Let me invite Confucius to join us once again. 下一张。
夫子，我有一事想请教。你说吧。君子是不是也有穷困的时候？
依你看，什么是穷困呢？
像我们这个样子就是穷困。
大家有什么想法？ 不赞成重油的说法。古人说，君子穷于道，叫做穷；经受不住磨难而放弃志向与追求，在困惑中谋求生存，称之为困。我们虽然屡屡遭受祸患，却从未放弃志向与追求。虽然在这陈蔡之地绝粮绝路，却始终持守着仁德之道。这难道叫做穷困吗？
OK， 好，到这里坐下说。Alright, the film tells the famous story when Confucius and his disciples suffered in the feudal state of Chen and Cai, where Confucius and his disciples even have no food to eat. And one of his disciples asked Confucius, could a gentleman suffer from poverty? And Confucius asked him, what do you mean by poverty? And the student said, just like us at this moment, we have nothing to eat. All right. And Confucius replied very calmly, no, this is not what I meant by poverty. All right. Confucius go ahead went further to say that a true gentleman should uphold his moral principle, not with in whatever difficult moment of circumstances. Okay, so you young guys simply feel released. This is the famous conversation in the history of Confucianism, explaining to us that all education was aimed at cultivating the gentlemanhood. 下一章。The reasons why that East Asian traditional education all aimed at the cultivation of the gentlemanhood is primarily attributable to the Confucian belief in the perfectibility of man. As Confucius announced, once I bent my mind, once I meant to benevolence or humanities, I have it immediately. This implies that each and every human beings are autonomous and have his or her own personal dignity. This runs parallel to a modern European liberalism, as is so powerfully articulated by Isaiah Berlin, a great philosopher of the 20th Europe. All right. And then the Confucian belief in the perfectibility of man contrasts sharply with the Judeo-Christian doctrine of the fallibility of man. In the book of Genesis, we read that God passed over his spirit on the water, and he spent 6 days to create the myriad of things. And God said, there must be light, and there is light. All right? But this is not the case in the Orient. In East Asian countries, there is no creation myth. It is the East Asian belief that each and every human beings may resonate with the heart of the heaven. And therefore, the Chinese emperor is called the son of heaven. All right. By calling their emperors as the son of heaven, the Chinese people were virtually imposed the moral responsibility on the rulers. Therefore, throughout Chinese history, there is no such rulers as the Roman Emperor Nero, Nero. There is no such wicked rulers throughout Chinese history. All right, this is what happened in pre-modern days, and let's take a look of the great transformation, of education in East Asia after 19th century. But in speaking of modern transformation in East Asia, we better start from the modern European experience. As the great founder of modern sociology, Max Weber, so aptly analyzed that he said that modern European civilization after Martin Luther's Reformation in 1517, European civilization had undergone a process of what Weber called rationalization. And this is best argued in his magnum opus, The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, in which Weber said that after Reformation, modern Europeans started to subscribe to this worldly asceticism because the Protestants all experienced a kind of calling from the God, and this resulted in the disenchantment of religious legitimation. And this great transformation from the sacred to the secular exercised a tremendous impact upon modern European higher education. Max Weber also indicated what he called the rationalization process of Western capitalism is a tragic process because the value rationality had been turned into instrumental rationality, and the self-realization, which is the core value in our education, and art education included, self-realization of the person that has become very much oppressed by the capitalistic mode of production. Let us take Oxford University as a concrete and a very good example. All of you know that the so-called Oxonians have produced 11 kings of 7 countries, 6 British kings, 47 Nobel Prize winners, 53 presidents or prime ministers, 12 senators, 86 bishops, plus 18 archbishops. This is truly a world-class university. Yes, indeed. Yes. However, we observed that Oxford University has experienced a 3-stage of development. At the very beginning of medieval Europe, that is about 11th, 12th century AD, Oxford University relied upon heavily on the support of the Catholic Church. And while in the second, in her second stage, Oxford University enjoyed the harbourage and intervention of the king's power. And it was after 18th century when enlightenment pervaded in European continent that Oxford University transformed quickly from the sacred to the secular. Yes. All right. And 下一张，our moves on a similar track of our European counterpart. Modern East Asian higher education developed during an age of crisis when the Western powers started to invade East Asian countries. In that difficult centuries, East Asian countries developed their educations as a method for searching power and wealth so as to be free from being colonized and enslaved by the Western powers. In China proper, the first modern Western-styled university is Beiyang Academy of Technology, Beiyang 大学堂, since 1896. To be followed 2 years later by the Imperial Academy, which is a present-day Peking University. And Japan is the #1 Asian country who claimed to to shed away East Asia so as to enter Europe. So the first Western-style modern university is Tokyo University, that is set up in the year 1877. To be followed 20 years later by Kyoto Imperial University. Next one. And in the island of Taiwan, of course, all of you know the earliest Western-styled modern university is the Taihoku Imperial University, or in Japanese, Taihoku Teikoku Daigaku, which was the predecessor of my own university, National Taiwan University. And this is the founder of that university, his calligraphy, and whose name is Shitehara. Okay, next one. Right. The great transformation of higher education in modern East Asia was made possible because of the rupture between tradition and modernity. And the most important rupture of history took place in the first Sino-Japanese War in 1894 in the Yellow Sea. In one single day, the Imperial Navy of Qing Dynasty was destroyed totally by the newly rising Japanese Empire. Ladies and gentlemen, the films, the silent films, videotaped by Japanese Imperial Navy on spot of the sea battlefield. Tells opened up the pages of history in East Asia and resulted in the city of Taiwan Island to Japanese Empire. Right? And this tragic historical event keep exercising influence upon the relationship, even in this 21st century, the relationship between mainland China and Taiwan. Japan rose up as the most westernized and so-called civilized country in Asia as a whole. Yet, next one. This great transformation resulted in the rupture in almost every Asian countries between tradition and modernity. As the famous 19th century Japanese intellectual, whose name is Fukuzawa Yukichi, said in his memoir, Fukuzawa Yukichi says that he himself and his generation of Japanese intellectuals all has two bodies. The upper half is so-called Problematiques Xing Dai, that is the body of traditional learning, while the lower part of his body is Problematiques Xing Dai, the body of Western learning. All right, this is I think Fukuzawa Yukichi's metaphor is very much intriguing and enlightening. All East Asian countries has two bodies, the traditional body and the westernized body. Right? Next one. The Western body in the arena of higher education, in mostly is modern East Asia, has been especially powerful. Even nowadays, all of our education, art education included, developing on the track of standardization, quantification, and commercialization, exactly as the post-war first generation Grandmaster of Frankfurt School, Horkheimer and Adorno satirized and criticized the illness, the ailment of European enlightenment. This is the three major problems keeps emerging day and night in the higher education in East Asia. Next one, 下一张. In this 21st century, what is important in East Asian higher education, it seems to me, is the professional education. What is important is the SOP training rather than cultivation of the student's mind heart. A scholar whose name is Harry Lewis, who was the dean of Harvard College, has a book titled Excellent Without a Soul. This is excellent. In this book, as a former dean of Harvard College, he launched vehement attack and criticism against his own university, Harvard University. I believe the second edition of his book carried a subtitle, How a Great University Forget the Educational Ideal. This is excellent. And Harry Lewis' book enlightened us that education has to be changed from emic to ethic approach. So, what are we heading for? My very personal perspective on East Asian education in the first 21st century is like this. 下一张. Over the past decade, I have heard a voice crying in the wilderness, as we read in the Holy Bible. Yes, we need to usher a proper change of education, which lies in a return to the core values of East Asian philosophy of education. Namely, one, to learn is to be awakened, as Confucius put it. Is it not a pleasure, having learned something, to try it out at due intervals? And second, education has to aim at cultivating and attaining so-called gentlemanhood and finally sagehood, 成圣成贤. All right, on the basis of what I just said, I would like to propound some concluding remarks for all of you. 下一张. Conclusion, 下一张. 不对，你跳过那个 conclusion， 上一张。下一个 all right， all right， 好 4 point， no， 这就是，all right， 没关系，那就插了一张。Nowadays, our education, or pretty much SOP-centric, or problem-based, learning-based. This is training, this is not education. Looking for the future, it seems to me that in this 21st century, we have to regard the student as learner, not the consumer of a department store of knowledge. That is Taipei National University of the Arts. Student has to be regarded as the end rather than the means, and the teachers has to be treated as educator, not as salesman of the this or that knowledge. To sum up, we need to ignite a new type of education with mind, in contrast with the education without mind in last century. All right, thanks so much. All right, make some to draw some concluding remarks for your perusal. All right, to conclude, I'd like to make 3 points of my presentation today. The first one is we have to strive for nurturing the student mind heart to be sensitive to the sufferings of others. As measures predict, no man is devoid of a heart sensitive to the suffering of others. Yes, you know, in traditional Chinese civilization, there is a correlative mode of thinking based on an organistic world view that make this educational philosophy possible. Point number 2, let us keep in mind that we have to cultivate student compassionate mind heart as rooted in the Confucian philosophy of body. The 15th century Confucian master Wang Yang in his famous essays, Inquiry on the Great Learning, in which he says the great man regards heaven and earth and the myriad things as one body. He regards the world as one family and the country as one person. You know, the philosophy of body became pretty much fashionable in recent 20 years in academia, in European academia and in the United States. And this current of education even influenced the study of dramaturgy. The dramaturgists started thinking the so-called performative term on the basis of body. Performative term. Yes, this is point number 2. All right. Finally, 下一张. 21st century education has to be created, as so powerfully announced in the year 1998 by UNESCO. Yes, innovative education approach is important. The student must have a critical thinking and creativity. Yet, the problem, yes, where is creativity comes from? It is my biased opinion is that it has to come. Creativity was first of all made possible on the basis of the awakening of the mind of student. Therefore, we need to usher a mindful awareness in the inner corner of the student's soul. We need to subscribe and approach what I call a mindful learning. All right, and this concludes my presentation today. And I have bring with me this morning a song composed in a grassroots civil society of Taiwan. And the name of the song is A Tree of Reminiscence, describing the pupils performed gratitude and reminiscence to their master. All right, the music, please. 大声一点。 声音太小。song composed in Taiwan should help you to become more and more aware of the importance of mindful learning in the 21st century. And also incidentally, I have send each of you a copy of my recently published book titled Taiwan in Transformation, Retrospect and Prospect, just out from Rutgers University in New Jersey, United States. Thank you very much. Enjoy your stay in Taiwan. Thank you.